And I said to you right before this show started, an hour ago, I said, how's the rap? And you said, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the same dance you do every day, every GD week.
Now,
since this monstrosity started.
Biggie and Chris Demm have said, why do you do that? Why do you ask? What's he supposed to say? I don't have it. I didn't have. But I like to get that reassurance. Mm-hmm. And as you know, Chris Demm is not a fan of the rap.
No.
We do it in spite of him every week. He doesn't care for it. And I love it. I think you do an excellent job with it. What you're known for, however, is your contrarian nature. We've seen it many, many times. You know, I say black, you say white. I say North Carolina, you say Duke. These are fine things, you know. But many times you take an opposite side of people, and I think that's a really rare take to have, you know, to have this. But I think we've heard the ultimate. This happened 5 minutes ago. I walked into the room, Chris Demm already here a couple of minutes before me, chatting with B.B. Shea.
As we often do, just making small talk. We were just talking about movies because he's a movie buff.
You're a movie man.
And I like watching movies too. And we were talking about a song that I knew that was kind of featured in a Joan Cusack movie called Gross Point Blank, which I enjoy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And I asked B.B. Shea, just off the cuff, have you seen Gross Point Blank? And he said, no, I've heard good things about it. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, this Pete Townsend song is in it. It's a good version.
Right. Yep. Okay.
And then he hit me with it right between the eyes.
Yep. Talk about Joan Cusack.
Yeah.
And B.B. Shea says that his favorite member of the Cusack family is Sister Joan
Cusack. Yes. Big fan. Much better than her brother.
You don't hear that.
We wish he was joking. He's not.
And that's what I'd say. I wish I wasn't trying to be contrarian. I'm being 100% honest. She is great.
She's fine. I would never say great.
She's fine. She's never like the lead.
No, she's never carried a film.
No.
I mean, she's in school. Most of the time, if you see a Joan Cusack movie, she will be in it.
She's in it.
But not always vice versa. And then she was in School of Rock, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
She was in and Out, but John wasn't.
That's right. She was in Broadcast News as a side. And have you seen Broadcast News?
I have not, no.
It's really good. That's a very good movie. Holly Hunter.
She does the voice of Jessie in the Toy Story movies.
Yes, she does.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She does. That's right. But it's a rarity when somebody says
John Cusack. Meh.
Okay. Joan.
I'll see the movie.
If Joan Cusack is in the movie, I'm seeing the movie.
Yes.
That is something you just don't hear much. Boy, he's done it.
It's the hottest take ever to open a show.
He's done it. It really is. I mean, we had our battles on macaroni and cheese. Penne versus an elbow macaroni. Yeah. That was one thing. We've gone back. Jordan versus LeBron.
Yeah.
Yankees, Red
Sox. You know. Jordan versus LeBron. He thinks LeBron is the best player of all time. Yeah. I think Jordan. We've gone back and forth. But you get down to the Cusacks. That's a battle most people don't
Uncharted
have.
territory
That's
there.
a battle most people don't have. I am blown away. Joan Cusack. And so I walked in, and Chris Demm said, now I hadn't heard any of this. And he said, oh, contrarian B.B. Shea's done it again. Guess who his favorite Cusack is? Joan.
That wobbles a man on his feet.
I don't know if those cameras were on. I had to sit down. I was, what?
Got to get some air.
Joan Cusack over John. Wow. That's a take.
Yeah.
I got one yesterday. I spent a lot of this show yesterday. You'd have been proud of me, B.B. Shea. Mm-hmm. I was talking about the greatness of Coach K.
Yes.
All right? Now, I'm a North Carolina fan. Mm-hmm. You're a Duke fan.
Correct.
But I see the greatness of Coach K.
It's kind of hard to not, you know.
I said he was the best college basketball coach of all time. I believe that. Mm-hmm. I said if you put a Mount Rushmore of all-time coaches, period, whatever sport, he's got to be on it.
Sure.
I think he's that good. Saban, Krzyzewski, Belichick.
Yeah.
You know, name another. And I said all of that. Well, I got one emailer yesterday saying, you're not that good of a coach.
How do you say that?
Did this caller go full B.B. Shea and say not even the best at Duke?
No, he didn't. He said, once again, you've shown your ignorance. He said to me, you're so ignorant and you have no idea what you're talking about. He's not even that great a coach. Look at all the talent he's had that he's squandered, was the argument there. But I go back on that and say, yeah, but, you have to recruit that talent. And that's part of it, too, in college football or basketball. Now, eventually you get a reputation so much so that...
Yeah, you do have to put together...
You do.
You got to put them together, make them work.
Yep. And the guy, well, you do. You do. And I guess that was this guy's point. He's like, he's gotten so much talent, he should have won more. He's felt short. Mm-hmm. But I don't agree with that because, especially in college basketball, you can get picked off there on any given night. It's a one-and-done tournament. And the excellence he has shown for winning the ACC tournament, I just don't see there's any way to argue it. But one man did, and we went back and forth. Mm-hmm. And he said, you don't even realize... They've only won one national championship since 2001. That's inaccurate. They've won. They won in 01, 10, and 15. So it's like, well, I said no.
So his facts were off.
His facts were off, and it wasn't good. So I was back and forth on him. Yes, and I was already in a prickly mood because fact checker Rusty, he gave me the F. Lee Bailey obituary.
Gave you the green light?
Gave me the green light on that. I don't know if you know who F. Lee Bailey. You familiar with F. Lee? No, you're not. You'd probably be arguing that he was the best member of the Dream Team if you knew.
The O.J. trial.
He was part of the O.J. Simpson Dream Team. Actually, F. Lee Bailey, he just died at 87. You familiar now?
See, I watched the show that they did on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you watched the one with Cuba Gooding Jr.
I did watch that.
Who played him?
He was played by... Was it Nathan Lane that played F. Lee Bailey?
Yes, I know who that is now. Okay, yes.
He's Johnny Cochran was the lead guy who was, bigger than life.
Well, if memory serves, Kelly, I know you're more of an expert on this trial than me. Bailey joined a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. He did, that's right.
Well, like when they went to trial.
And I knew him. I don't even know how I knew him, but when that name came on, it's like, well, I've heard of him. He's a big name.
He was a name because I think I first heard of him when he defended Patty Hearst.
That's right.
That's right. She was an heiress kidnapped by a terrorist group, and they say forced to commit crimes against her will. He defended her, but she was convicted anyway.
Was she? Mm-hmm. She became part of the terrorist group. It's like it's like, was she kidnapped or was she
doing it against her will, or did she willingly join?
Well, now I'll tell you the thing about F. Lee Bailey. He just died at age 87. He was part of the O.J. Simpson team. And Chris Dem's right, he joined late. But if you watch that show and also the documentary, O.J., tried on the gloves famously, and they didn't fit. And that's where the line, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit, came from. Well, the word is that F. Lee Bailey goaded the prosecution into making him try on the gloves. So you watch that show.
Yeah.
At a recess, one of the lawyers went up to the gloves. Everybody was recessing. He just went to them and compared his hand to them. And said, oh, my God, these are too small even for me.
Yeah.
And he knew he had much smaller hands than O.J. Simpson. So they sort of huddled and said, how can we get the prosecution to make him try these on? That's what they wanted to do. So F. Lee Bailey went over to Chris Darden, one of the prosecutors, and said, you chicken, if you don't make him put, you chicken. He called him like.
This is all supposition.
Yeah. Well, at least on the show, now it showed it. He went over to me like, you such a, and he called him P word. He's like, you're such a puss. You need to make him try on those gloves. And the other guy's like, I'm not. And so then he got up there. And Marcia Clark, the lead prosecutor, didn't know he was going to do it, according to the show. This was the fictional show, but according to that, so Darden went lone wolf, went out on his own, and made O.J. try on the gloves, which the defense knew was not going to fit him because he had bigger hands, and he put them on, and it didn't fit, and that was a big part of the trial.
And this is not from the show, from the actual trial. Bailey was the guy who made that Mark Furman guy look awful under cross-examination.
Fact, and also portrayed on the show, which was pretty accurate. He ripped him apart.
Yeah, the cross really just kind of changed. Well, it changed Furman's life forever. Because then they found the old tapes of him when he said, I never used this word. And, of course, they found all kinds of tapes.
Johnny Cochran called that manna from heaven. That was one of the names of the episodes of that show.
Really?
And I think that's documented, too. He got the tapes, heard him, and he goes, this is manna from heaven. And they used it. And maybe F. Lee Bailey was even brought in because of that, to work that angle of the trial. Point is, he dies yesterday at age 87. And I get an email from Rusty, our fact checker on this show. And he goes, I don't even think you can screw this one up. Go ahead and do it. So already I'm in a mood.
Yeah.
And then the next email I read is like, you're so stupid. You're so ignorant. You don't know that Coach K is not a very good coach. And I fired back at that.
I'll show you what I know.
It's hard for me, though, because I'm a Carolina fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a Duke fan. Here I am defending and saying all these great things about Coach K. Man won me over when we interviewed him. We interviewed Coach K about 10 years ago. and he couldn't have been better. And we had him on like longer than he was supposed to be on.
Yeah.
And I said I could sit here and talk about this rivalry all day. He goes, well, I can too. Let's just talk. I mean, he was unbelievable. And then Chris Demm, as Chris Demm does, wrote him a handwritten thank you note after the interview, and Coach K wrote him back a personal note typed up on Duke stationery, which he signed, which said, I went out to walk the dogs after the interview, and some folks in the yard, my gardener had heard it and was talking about how good a show you have, and I just thought, this is amazing.
Yeah,
that's
so I had
really
to let it
cool.
frame.
It was incredible.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Now, and we interviewed Roy Williams too.
Yeah.
And he was good, but he didn't do that kind of treatment.
Okay.
And after that, I didn't hate Coach K as much as I did. I did not hate him as much as I did. Let me get your take on...
One more note on F. Lee Bailey,
Yes.
by the way. You left out the Boston Strangler.
Yeah, he also defended the Boston.
He defended the guy who claimed to be, I think, the Boston Strangler.
Wow. That's correct.
So, I mean, he's really kind of involved in major 20th century cases.
Oh, yeah. I know your take on this. I'm sure you've picked somebody else on the defense team because you're such a contrarian. But give me F. Lee Bailey in a pinch,
He's a Bob Kardashian guy.
You're a Kardashian man.
I like Shapiro myself.
My wife on this now. So who's died here? Not Shapiro. Has Shapiro died? No.
I don't recall.
Kardashian died. Kardashian
Bob
died.
Kardashian is dead.
He died shortly after the trial. Johnny Cochran died. And now F. Lee Bailey. And my wife says every time one of them dies, because they defended O.J., that's why they died.
Their soul was being eaten from within.
They got the hate cancer. She calls it hate cancer. You get a cancer because you do something wrong and set a murderer free. You get the hate cancer inside you, and you perish.
And 30 years later, you die.
Right, that's it. But now Cochran and Kardashian didn't make it very long at all.
No.
I mean, they were gone. And my wife always says that. Now, I'll tell you something about you tell me what you think about this. I was watching Colin Cowherd later in the day. You tell me about this now. Here's his take on Duke losing Mike Krzyzewski and North Carolina losing Roy Williams. He says that people go to UNC for the campus, the stadium, the connection to Michael Jordan. It's much bigger. It's state supported. It's not as hard academically, even though it's a good school. It's not like really
Used to be really.
Yeah, it used to be. Okay, at one point it was really right, especially for the athlete. Duke, private, small, academic, elite, people from out of state. And he said people go to Carolina for Carolina like they go to Alabama for football and Alabama. People go to Duke for Coach K. So they'll have a tougher time in the aftermath than North Carolina. I hadn't thought about it that way. Like he says if one program's going to struggle, it's going to be Duke, not North Carolina.
I think it's going to be both equally.
You do?
I disagree with that take. I think that they go to play for Roy Williams, who's established himself as a championship coach.
Yes.
Same with Mike Krzyzewski as a championship coach. And you're either growing up a Carolina or a Duke fan, and I think that probably goes into a lot of the kids' decisions.
Well, I don't know about that. I think Zion Williamson, for instance, was a Clemson fan. His father went to Clemson.
True.
But I think he went specifically to play for Coach K. If John Shire was the coach there 3 years ago, I don't think he goes to Duke.
I think Zion went to go play with the guys he was going to play with.
You want
Personally,
God.
as well as Coach K. But I think they're both going to have a hard time recruiting with Coach Shire and Williams.
But you know what helped Krzyzewski was when he started coaching Olympic teams.
It was huge.
Because he got
absolutely.
in with NBA
Connection to
superstars.
NBA. That's true too.
And so the young guys look up to those NBA guys.
But I'll agree with Cowherd in this. I think Duke is able to sell come play for the greatest of all time, Coach K, more than North Carolina was saying, hey, come play for Roy Williams. Part of it, yes, but Coach K to me was a bigger draw.
I could kind of see it, yeah.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on that. I guess that's just how we'll go. LeBron lost last night, by the way. He's out for the first round of the playoffs for the first time ever. That's BB Shea's guy, best of all time. They lost. That's one of my hot five here.
Is it? LeBron out.
LeBron out. That's the first time, and of course they're defending champions. Now, Chris Demm will tell you there was a play-in series. So I don't know if it's first round or not. I mean, technically, yeah, first round.
Yeah.
That's my mentor every day sends the hot five topics people are talking about across America. LeBron was one. F. Lee Bailey was one that he had passed away. And the annual Amazon Prime Day, which features a lot of sales, which is coming up June 17th. I heard a lot about that on the news today, too.
Tons of it.
I never take advantage of that. I never think anything about that. But people do.
Does your wife?
I think she does. Yeah, I think she has in the past. But people absolutely love that Amazon
How many days
Prime.
a week is there a package on your front steps?
I I would say once a week we get a package from Amazon. Not all that often. We've made a commitment to not bring as many things into the home.
When you say we,
she has really. I've always had that commitment. I don't like to bring things because we throw. I'm so tired of going through everything. That's the one place where we fight, and we have an attic right now that I'd like to go through and really get rid of a lot of stuff. So she used to see stuff and buy it. I mean, she'd just go, well, I like that, and buy it, and then it would just sit and without having a plan for it. And now, if we don't have a plan, we don't buy it. I mean, we've made that decision together.
It's very communist China.
Well, I'm just as darn sick.
I need a 5-year plan, sweetheart.
I just am, she would buy these little, pillows that she's like, oh, I love these pretty pillows. Like, yeah, okay, where are we going to put them? Oh, I don't know, but we'll use them down the line. Well, they sit forever. We have some floats that she bought the kids. This is from Costco. And there are 4 of them. We only have 2 kids, and they're enormous floats.
Like inflatables?
Yes. Well, yes, like inflatables. And
the
they're
big swans that the Instagram girls use?
That's right. Stuff like that. They're huge. There's like a frog and a ladybug, and they're enormous. And you can't use them at the pool. You're not supposed to have a float. We don't
can't use them in the ocean because they'll drift away.
Of course. So it's like, well, where are we going to use this? She's like, well, we'll find a place. Well, her uncle used to have a house at the beach, and we used them in that pool like twice. They take up a ton of room in the car to begin with. It's like, why are we doing this? What are we doing? And now they take up a ton of room in the garage. So I say, can we get rid of this? She says, no. So we fight over stuff like that. That's where we are. She's not doing that anymore. We've made that connection.
You've worn her down.
Well, I've worn her down. She's not doing that anymore. So we don't get as much as we used to. She might take advantage of Amazon Prime Day. That's a big day. That is June 17th. That's one of the leads here on the Hot 5 things.
Is that a Saturday, a Friday?
The 17th. Well, let's see. Today's the 4th. So the 17th would be a Saturday, right? Is that right? No. It would be a Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
It'd be a Thursday. So the Thursday, that's when you get Amazon Prime Video for 30 days starting on June 17th. The actual Prime days are the 21st and 22nd. So that'd be like Monday, Tuesday after that. So, and I see her Target and Walmart are already gearing up to fight against that, so they'll have to put a lot of things on sale as well. And then, I don't know if you're into this, Mercury is in retrograde. I used to have. You're nodding. You know something about this.
I know people who say that, and I just say it to make fun of them from time to time.
You're not into it.
Whatever stuff's going bad, Mercury's in retrograde, whatever.
It is from now until June 22nd. So here we are.
Which means
Mercury. Well, what it is, Mercury. Retrograde is when a planet's orbit appears to change, so it looks like it's going backwards in the sky. It doesn't really change. It's an illusion because of where the Earth is in its orbit, so it's not really going backwards. Every planet does it at some point, goes into retrograde, only because of our atmosphere and how we're looking, our orbit. But 32% of people think it does mean something, so they won't take on a major new project. They won't do anything. They won't get married. When
1/3.
Yeah, it says 1/3. Yeah, I think it affects us here on Earth like a full moon affects us on Earth. People think that too.
Well, my wife firmly believes that the cats, especially A-hole, act crazier when there's a full moon.
Biggie says that too.
And people will say like the jails are more full on a full moon.
Biggie says when we have a day where he's answering phones, and a lot of people call in and say crazy
off the wall
things. He'll say, "Is there a full moon?" Because he's getting a lot of crazy calls. He believes in that. Mercury in retrograde. I used to have a coworker who was so into that. We would do stuff like add new songs to the radio station, but not when Mercury was in retrograde. He would say, I'm not doing that because...
So how long is in retrograde?
3 weeks.
You don't add new music for 3 weeks?
We were a little bit stale there.
Yikes.
Well, at least it's 3 weeks this time. I don't know how long it was back then, but he'd say, I'm not doing anything with Mercury in retrograde.
No way to program a station?
No. Well, it had to change formats. After a time, it had to change formats, unfortunately. So those are the big things going on today across America. And then other stuff, I didn't get to some of this stuff I wasn't going to get to. That LeBron James, I wasn't even going to talk too much about. But them being out, that is kind of a big deal. So you've got a new champion.
I heard that Anthony Davis went 5 minutes last night, and then his groin gave out.
Yeah.
I knew.
I don't know about that guy anymore.
Well, and the rest of the Lakers just can't pick up the slack.
Right,
yeah.
Right. He doesn't seem to want it like some do. Or I don't know if he takes care of his body the way he should.
He did last year. He did good, but this year's just a completely different story.
Yeah. Do you think that does he not have the commitment to taking care of himself? I mean, a groin injury could happen to anybody.
True.
But he does have a lot of little
He does.
pesky injuries there.